Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible, not because no one saw you, but because no one truly heard you? Your words have the power to shift perspectives, to move hearts, and to influence change. But most people speak just to fill silence, unaware of the untapped power that lives in every pause, every syllable, every breath. What if I told you that your greatest influence doesn't lie in what you say, but in how you say it? That the most respected leaders in the world aren't always the loudest, but the ones who've mastered the silent power of spoken words. This is not about public speaking tricks or corporate lingo. This is about learning to speak with such grounded presence, clarity, and emotional resonance that people lean in when you talk and remember you long after you've left the room. If you're tired of being overlooked, if you want to lead not by force, but by presence, then you're in the right place. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Every week we drop transformational insights to accelerate your growth, amplify your voice, and help you lead from within. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Introduction. Welcome to the silent power of spoken words, the audiobook that will reshape the way you speak, lead, and live. Over the next few hours, you will unlock the invisible mechanics behind impactful communication. You'll learn how to command attention without raising your voice, how to lead conversations without dominating them, and how to build trust simply by showing up as your most aligned, powerful self. This journey isn't just about what you say, it's about rewiring how you think, what you believe about your voice, and how you show up in every moment, with yourself and others. You'll develop the clarity of a visionary, the emotional depth of a mentor, and the magnetic presence of a true leader. By the end of this audiobook, you'll no longer second-guess your voice. You'll own it. What sets this experience apart? This isn't recycled motivation. This is practical, real-world transformation rooted in neuroscience, emotional intelligence, and proven leadership frameworks, delivered in a format designed for deep, lasting change. But here's the key. You get out what you put in. So commit fully. Engage with the companion workbook included with each chapter. These downloadable guides are filled with tools, templates, and reflections designed to turn insight into action. They're free to use, and if they bring you value, feel free to support this work with a donation to help keep the message alive. Now take a deep breath, step into this moment, because from this point forward, your words will never be the same. Chapter 1. The Unseen Influence of Your Voice. Let me begin with a question. When you speak, do people really listen? Not just hear you, but feel you, remember you, trust you. Most people never consider the silent influence their voice has on the world. They focus on content, on having the right words, the right script, the perfect pitch. But influence isn't just in what you say. It's in the energy behind what you say. It's in the pauses between your words. It's in the steadiness of your tone. It's in how your voice lands, lingers, and lives in the minds of others. The voice is the bridge between your inner world and the outer one. It carries not just sound, but emotion, belief, and intent. In this chapter, we're going to uncover the invisible mechanics of how your voice shapes perception, deepens connection, and builds leadership without needing to raise the volume. Because when you understand this, you begin to lead not just with your voice, but through it. Section 1. The brain on voice. Here's something you might not know. Your voice triggers emotional and neurological responses in others within milliseconds. Studies in neuroscience show that tone, rhythm, and volume activate areas of the brain associated with trust, empathy, and attention. This means people don't just respond to your message, they respond to your delivery. Think of your voice like a tuning fork. When it's clear, calm, and confident, it resonates. When it's rushed, flat, or scattered, it repels. Before they even decide what to think of you, people are already feeling your voice. So ask yourself, what emotional state are your words carrying? Section 2. Why leaders speak differently. Think of someone you deeply respect, a leader, a mentor, a voice that made you pause. Chances are it wasn't what they said that moved you most. It was how they made you feel. Great leaders speak with intention. They allow space. They speak from clarity, not toward it. They don't rush to fill silence. They let their words breathe. They speak less to impress and more to connect. And the best part, this isn't talent, it's trainable. You don't need to become someone else to speak like a leader. You need to become more fully yourself and remove the noise that hides your natural power. Section 3. Your current voice style. Let's pause here for a moment. What's your current speaking style? Do you speak quickly when nervous? Do you downplay your ideas with phrases like, "I don't know," or "this might sound silly," but do you raise your tone at the end of statements, making them sound like questions? Or maybe you tend to over-explain. Apologize for speaking. Shrink your voice to avoid being too much. These are invisible habits, and they're costing you clarity, confidence, and impact. It's time to bring them into awareness. Section 4. Reflective exercise. Let's do a simple but powerful self-audit. Over the next 24 hours, pay close attention to how you speak. What situations make your voice shift? Who causes you to shrink or overperform? Where do you feel most authentic and confident? Start noticing not just what you say, but how your tone, pace, and energy change in different rooms. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. Section 5. The leadership shift. Here's what I want you to remember. Leadership isn't loud. It's not about being the boldest, the smartest, or the most extroverted person in the room. It's about alignment between who you are and how you show up. When your voice aligns with your truth, people feel it, and that's when real influence begins. You don't need a stage to lead. You just need to master the everyday moments when your words carry weight and trust that your silent power is enough. Final thoughts. Your voice is a tool, a mirror, a compass. And in the chapters ahead, we'll sharpen it, strengthen it, and learn how to use it with precision and presence. But for now, start with this. Speak as if your words are shaping someone's belief about themselves, because they are. Speak as if your presence matters, because it does. Download the companion workbook for this chapter. Inside, you'll find a detailed voice audit, a self-assessment to measure your tone, clarity, confidence, and hidden habits. It's time to stop speaking from habit and start speaking from power. Your next level begins with your next word. Chapter 2. Presence before words. Before your first word is spoken, you've already made an impact. Your body, your energy, your posture, your presence, they all speak. The question is, what are they saying? In this chapter, we explore the invisible layer of leadership that shapes every interaction before a single word leaves your mouth. Because your presence is the foundation of your voice. Section 1. The power of presence. Presence is not about being the loudest or most charismatic person in the room. Presence is about energy, intention, stillness. It's the quiet confidence that says, "I belong here," without needing to prove anything. People feel your presence before they hear your voice. In fact, research shows that first impressions are formed within the first 7 seconds of meeting someone, and much of that impression is non-verbal. So what does that mean? It means that your posture, your eye contact, your facial expression, your breath, they're already communicating something long before your words arrive. Section 2. Owning your space. Let's talk about physical presence. There's a science to body language, and leaders who own their space exude a sense of calm authority, not force, not dominance, just grounded confidence. Simple practices like standing tall, aligning your spine, and anchoring your feet create a sense of internal stability that others notice. Imagine 2 people walking into a room. One is rushing, head down, shoulders tight, scanning the floor. The other walks slowly, eyes open, posture tall, grounded in their steps. Who do you naturally trust more? Who are you more likely to listen to? That's the silent power of physical presence. Section 3. The inner game of presence. Now let's go deeper into the internal side of presence. Because true presence isn't just physical, it's emotional, energetic, spiritual. It's what happens when your mind, body, and intention are aligned in the present moment. Most people are stuck in their heads when they speak, trying to get it right, trying to avoid judgment, trying to be liked. But presence lives in the body, not the mind. It comes from stillness, from breath, from presence with yourself. When you're centered in your own energy, you don't chase approval. You don't rush to prove your value. You simply are. And people feel that truth. Section 4. Reflective prompt. Let's pause for a moment of self-inquiry. When do you feel most powerful? Is it in stillness, in action, in solitude, in front of a crowd? And when do you feel least powerful? What environments shrink your presence, and why? These answers matter, because your environment will always influence your energy. The more awareness you have of where your power expands or contracts, the more choice you'll have in how you show up. Section 5. Energy before expression. Your energy walks into the room before your voice does. You don't have to say anything to be heard. When you're grounded, people relax around you. When you're frantic, others feel it, even if your words sound calm. This is why high-impact communicators prioritize their state before their speech. So the next time you prepare to speak, whether it's on stage, in a meeting, or one-on-one, ask yourself, where is my energy right now? Is it scattered, centered, grounded, anxious? Check in, breathe, anchor. Then let your words come from presence, not in search of it. Section 6. The Silent Signals Practice. Here's a simple yet transformative daily practice. For the next 7 days, choose one everyday moment to enter with full presence before you speak. It could be walking into a room, entering a Zoom call, greeting a colleague, or simply sitting down to work. Before you say anything, pause, breathe, ground yourself, feel your feet, lift your spine, relax your jaw. Let your presence speak first. Observe how people respond. You may notice that you don't need to say as much. You may feel more calm, more powerful, more you. Section 7. Cultivating command presence is what gives your voice its gravity. It doesn't matter how brilliant your words are. If your energy is scattered, people won't feel you. But when you're rooted, your words land differently. You become magnetic, not because you're performing, but because you're aligned. This is the core of leadership communication. You lead not just by what you say, but by the way you take up space with authenticity and intention. Final thoughts. As you move through your week, remember this. You don't need permission to be powerful. You don't need to raise your voice to command a room. You only need to align your presence with your truth and let that silent power do the talking. Download the Chapter 2 companion workbook and complete the Silent Signals practice to begin training your presence before words. Your presence is your message. Make it unforgettable. Chapter 3. The Inner Voice That Shapes the Outer One. Every word you speak begins as a whisper in your mind. Before your voice reaches the world, it echoes through your inner landscape, your beliefs, your fears, your doubts, your stories. And here's the truth. If your internal dialogue is filled with self-criticism, hesitation, or fear, it will leak into your spoken words, no matter how confident you try to sound. In this chapter, we're diving into the power of self-talk and how mastering it will elevate every part of your external communication, because leadership begins with what you tell yourself. Section 1. The voice you hear most. You are the person you listen to most. Your inner voice narrates your entire life. It tells you who you are, what you can or can't do, what you deserve, and how others see you. And when that voice is judgmental, fearful, or small, your outer voice follows. It sounds like, "I don't know if I'm making sense. This might be a dumb idea, but I'm probably wrong." But these phrases are not just habits. They're evidence of an inner narrative that's undermining your presence. Your external authority is directly tied to your internal alignment. Section 2. The root of self-doubt. Let's look at where these inner voices come from. Most of us were not taught to trust our voice. We were taught to defer, to please, to fit in. Somewhere along the way, you may have been told, "You're too loud. Don't make a scene. No one wants to hear that." And so your voice adapted. It learned to shrink, to hide, to be safe. But playing small to stay safe comes at a cost. You begin to mistrust your own expression, and when you mistrust your voice, so do others. Section 3. The bridge to confidence. Here's what most communication trainings miss. Confidence doesn't come from performing better. It comes from believing better. You can master technique, but if your self-talk is filled with doubt, your words will never land with conviction. That's why this chapter isn't just about your speaking style, it's about your self-story. If you want to speak with clarity and confidence, you must first rewrite the script running in the background. You must learn to talk to yourself like someone worth listening to. Section 4. Reflective exercise. Let's begin by catching the old voice. Start by noticing your inner commentary throughout the day, especially before or after you speak. When you anticipate speaking, what thoughts show up? When you finish a conversation or presentation, what does your mind say? Write them down. Observe them. Don't judge. Just become aware. Here are some examples. They didn't care what I had to say. I rambled too much. I shouldn't have spoken up. These thoughts may feel automatic, but they're not truth. They're just practiced, and anything practiced can be reprogrammed. Section 5. Rewriting the script. Now that you've caught the voice of doubt, it's time to respond with the voice of leadership. For every critical thought you notice, create a new, grounded affirmation. Not fake positivity, not fluff. Grounded truth. Here's how. Critical thought. I'm not a good speaker. Reframe truth. I'm learning to speak with clarity and presence. Critical thought. They probably thought I was awkward. Reframed truth. I showed up with authenticity, and that matters. Critical thought. I messed that up. Reframed truth. I'm growing through this experience. This is the inner work of leadership, because the way you speak to yourself becomes the way you speak to others. Section 6. Daily inner voice practice. Here's your practice. Each morning, write down 3 grounded affirmations that affirm your value, your growth, and your right to speak. Say them aloud. Anchor them with breath. Speak them into your nervous system. You can start with these. My voice matters. I communicate with calm and clarity. I lead with presence, not perfection. This isn't just mindset work. It's muscle memory for your message. The more you speak to yourself with kindness and confidence, the more natural it becomes to speak that way to the world. Section 7. Moving from self-judgment to self-trust. Let's be honest. Self-judgment is sneaky. It disguises itself as humility, as self-awareness, even as responsibility. But chronic self-judgment is not humility. It's self-abandonment. And no one can follow a leader who has abandoned themselves. To speak powerfully, you must trust yourself, not just your facts, not just your skills, but your being. When you speak from self-trust, people lean in, because self-trust is magnetic, it's rare, and it's real. Final thoughts. You don't need to wait until you feel ready to use your voice. You don't need to be perfect to speak with impact. You only need to start telling yourself a better story, one where you're not the problem, but the messenger. Download the Chapter 3 companion workbook and complete the Rewriting the Script exercise to shift your self-talk and elevate your leadership voice. Your words begin with your beliefs, so believe in your voice and watch everything change. Chapter 4. The Language of Leadership. There's a reason some people speak and everyone listens. It's not because they have the most experience, the loudest voice, or the flashiest words. It's because they've mastered the subtle craft of language. Not just what they say, but how they say it. In this chapter, we'll explore the 5 essential elements of powerful leadership language. You'll learn how to sound more decisive, more trustworthy, and more grounded in any situation. Let's begin. Section 1. The power of words. Words are energy. They can expand possibility or shrink it. They can build trust or break it. They can lead or lose people. Leaders understand that every word carries weight. That's why they don't waste them. They speak with clarity, with intention, with presence. They don't ramble. They don't over-explain. They don't hide behind jargon or fluff. They choose language that moves people forward. And you can too. Section 2. The 5 elements of leadership language. Let's break down the 5 elements of language that make you sound like a leader. Number 1, clarity. Clarity is the foundation. Without it, nothing sticks. Be direct. Be clean. Don't bury your point in a paragraph of context. Say what matters first, then support it. Number 2, confidence. Not arrogance, not perfection. Confidence. Speak as if your words carry value, because they do. Avoid qualifiers like I think, maybe, or this might be a dumb idea. Own your voice. Number 3, simplicity. Complex doesn't mean intelligent. Simplicity is power. Use short sentences. Choose words that are easy to understand. If it takes too long to explain, it's not ready to say. Number 4, intention. Every word should have a purpose. Don't speak to fill space. Speak to move something, an emotion, an insight, a decision. Know your why before you open your mouth. Number 5, resonance. This is where your language connects emotionally. Use metaphor, use story, use realness. Let people feel you, not just hear you. These 5 elements, clarity, confidence, simplicity, intention, and resonance, form the core of leadership language. Section 3. Techniques to sound more grounded. Let's talk technique. When you want to sound more grounded and trustworthy, your delivery matters as much as your words. Here are a few simple shifts. Number 1, lower your tone slightly. A calm, even tone conveys steadiness and credibility. Number 2, slow your pace. Don't rush. A grounded leader speaks at the speed of trust. Number 3, breathe between thoughts. Pausing isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Number 4, replace filler with silence. Every time you're about to say or like, pause instead. That pause holds more power. Number 5, end statements with downward inflection. If your voice rises at the end of every sentence, it sounds like a question. Statements should sound like statements. Practice these in daily conversations. You'll notice people start responding to you differently. Section 4, guided practice. Anchoring tone and tempo. Let's do a short grounding practice together. Sit or stand in a comfortable upright position. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more. Inhale confidence. Exhale tension. Now, speak this phrase slowly and intentionally. My words carry clarity. My voice is grounded. Again, this time with more resonance. My words carry clarity. My voice is grounded. Feel how the words land in your body. Now try this one. I don't speak to be loud. I speak to be heard. And again, I don't speak to be loud. I speak to be heard. This is the rhythm of leadership language. Calm, clear, centered. Section 5. Common language traps to avoid. Here are 3 habits that dilute your leadership voice and what to say instead. Trap 1. over-apologizing, instead of, sorry to bother you, but try. Do you have a moment? Trap 2, minimizing your point, instead of, I might be wrong, but try. Here's what I'm seeing. Trap 3, rambling. Instead of long-winded setup, try this format. What I want to highlight is, or, here's the bottom line. Clean language reflects clear thinking, and clear thinking builds trust. Section 6, your word upgrade practice. Every week choose 3 filler phrases or minimizing expressions you want to retire, and replace them with language that's direct, empowering, and clear. Here are a few swaps to get you started. I think becomes I believe. Just checking in becomes following up to. I'm not sure, but becomes here's my perspective. Start tracking your language patterns. Awareness creates change. Final thoughts. You don't need fancy words to sound like a leader. You need clarity, confidence, simplicity, intention, resonance. These are not personality traits. They're practices. And the more you speak with this kind of language, the more people will lean in, follow through, and remember your message. Download the Chapter 4 companion workbook to complete your word upgrade list and practice your leadership language in real life. Your voice is a tool. Sharpen it. Chapter 5. Say less, lead more. Leadership is not about saying more, it's about saying what matters and letting silence do the rest. In this chapter, we explore the subtle art of powerful brevity and intentional silence. You'll learn how to eliminate verbal clutter, amplify your authority, and create space for others to lean in. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Section 1. The power of pause. Most people are afraid of silence. They fill it with filler words, long explanations, nervous laughter. But great leaders don't fear the pause. They use it. The pause builds tension, it signals confidence, it creates space for your words to land. It says, I don't need to rush, I know my voice matters. Start noticing your own speaking habits. Do you rush to finish sentences? Do you interrupt your own thoughts to avoid awkward silence? Begin to practice stillness. It's not empty. It's powerful. Section 2, precision over volume. We live in a noisy world. Everyone is talking. Few are saying anything of value. Brevity cuts through noise. It creates contrast. It makes people pay attention. When you speak with precision, when every word is chosen with care, you show respect for yourself, your message, and your listener. Think about this. Would you rather listen to someone who takes 5 minutes to make a point, or someone who delivers the same impact in 30 seconds? Say less, mean more. Section 3. Why over-explaining kills clarity. Many people over-explain because they're trying to prove something, prove they're smart, prove they've done their homework, prove they're not being misunderstood. But the need to prove is often rooted in insecurity, not leadership. Over-explaining muddies your message. It confuses your audience, and ironically, it makes people trust you less, not more. Leadership is not about convincing, it's about conveying. Say what you mean, then stop talking. Section 4. Listening as leadership. Here's a secret most communicators overlook. The best speakers are also the best listeners. Why? Because they don't speak to be heard. They speak to connect, and to connect you must first listen. When you listen fully, without rehearsing your reply, without trying to sound smart, you create space. People feel seen, heard, respected, and when they feel that way, they're far more likely to listen to you in return. Silence is a mirror. It reflects who you are. It makes room for who they are. Section 5. Reflective prompt. Let's pause. What messages are hiding in your silence? What emotions, insights, or intentions are you afraid to let settle in the stillness? Are you afraid silence will make you look unsure, weak, unprepared, or Are you beginning to realize that silence is not a void, but a vessel? Write this down for yourself. What do I want my silence to say? Section 6. Impactful phrasing practice. Now, let's sharpen your brevity muscle. Here's a simple exercise. Take a typical message you might over-explain, something you'd say in a meeting, email, or conversation. Now say it in half the words, then say it in one sentence, then say it in one phrase. For example, long-winded. I just wanted to say that I think your suggestion is a really interesting idea, and I'm definitely going to give it some thought, because it could be helpful. Refined, that's a strong suggestion. I'm going to consider it. Minimal, that's worth exploring. See the difference? Fewer words, more impact. Section 7. Respecting the power of restraint. Speaking less isn't about withholding, it's about wielding your voice with care. It's about knowing that words, like tools, are most effective when used with purpose. You don't need to dominate the room to own it. You only need to speak with presence, clarity, and restraint. Final note: if you've ever felt pressure to fill space, remember this: leaders don't fill space, they hold it. Final thoughts. Your words don't need to be louder, they need to be cleaner. Your voice doesn't need to say more, it needs to say what matters. Speak with purpose. Let silence speak for you. Download the Chapter 5 companion workbook to complete your impactful phrasing drill and begin practicing the language of clarity and presence. Say less, lead more. Chapter 6. Storytelling that moves people. Facts tell. Stories transform. If you want to be remembered, inspire action, and build deep trust, tell better stories. In this chapter, we explore the science and soul of storytelling. You'll discover why stories connect more powerfully than logic, learn the simple structure behind every unforgettable narrative, and start shaping your own leadership story that people will remember long after you've spoken. Let's begin. Section 1. Why stories matter more than facts. Human beings are wired for story. Before we wrote history, we told stories around the fire. We taught values, passed down wisdom, and shaped cultures, all through narrative. Neuroscience confirms this. When we hear data, 2 areas of the brain light up. But when we hear a story, multiple regions activate, including those tied to emotion, memory, and even motor response. In other words, stories don't just inform, they involve. When you share a story, you create a bridge between minds and hearts. You give people a way to feel your message, not just understand it. Section 2. The elements of a magnetic story. You don't need to be a professional speaker to tell a powerful story. You only need to structure it right and speak from the truth of your experience. Here's the simple 3-part framework. Part 1. The setup. Introduce the situation. Who were you? Where were you? What was at stake? The more specific, the better. Part 2. The shift. Something changes, a challenge, a breakthrough, a decision point. This is where tension builds and emotion rises. It's where your listener leans in. Part 3, the significance. This is the moment of insight. What did you learn? What changed in you? And how can that insight serve the listener? Great stories aren't about perfection. They're about transformation. They remind people they're not alone, and they show what's possible. Section 3. Story is your leadership tool. In leadership, story isn't fluff, it's strategy. Facts make you credible. Stories make you relatable. Whether you're leading a team, pitching a vision, or inspiring change, people need more than logic. They need to feel why it matters. And that feeling comes through story. Share a story, and you invite others into your world, into your mistakes, your lessons, your growth. That vulnerability builds trust, that structure builds clarity, and that resonance, that builds follow-through. Section 4. Finding your signature story. You don't need a dramatic life event to tell a compelling story. Your story might be simple: a childhood moment, a career shift, a quiet insight that changed everything. Here's a question to help you find it. What's one moment in your life where everything changed? It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. What did you feel in that moment? What belief shifted? What truth did you discover? Now ask yourself, who could benefit from hearing that? That's your story's purpose. Section 5. Storytelling practice. Let's walk through it together. Step 1. The setup. Describe where you were and what was happening. Anchor us in your world. Keep it specific and real. Step 2. The shift. What happened that disrupted the flow? What challenge or insight emerged? What emotion rose? Step 3. The significance. What did you learn? How did you grow? What does that moment mean to you now? Pause and jot down ideas as they come. Then say it out loud. Not as a performance, but as a practice in presence. The more you tell your story, the more power it holds. Section 6. Story as service. Your story is not just about you, it's about how you use it to serve, to connect, to reflect a truth someone else needs to hear. Don't tell a story to impress, tell it to impact. When you share your journey with honesty and clarity, you become a mirror. You remind others of their strength, their courage, their possibility. That's leadership. Final thoughts. Data is forgettable, but your story is unforgettable. So don't just speak, move people. Don't just inform, transform. Download the Chapter 6 companion workbook to build your signature leadership story using the Story Spine template. You don't need to have all the answers. Just speak from the truth you've lived. That's the story people will remember. Chapter 7. Emotional resonance through voice. Your voice is more than a vehicle for words. It's an instrument, one that carries emotion, energy, and meaning. In this chapter, we're exploring how to deepen your impact by infusing emotional intelligence into your voice. You'll learn to express empathy, confidence, and authenticity in a way that connects without crossing into overexposure or oversharing. Let's explore the unseen layers that shape how your voice is felt. Section 1. The invisible undercurrent. Every time you speak, there's more being communicated than just the words. There's an undercurrent, an emotional tone. People don't just hear what you say, they feel how you say it. And this feeling shapes trust, connection, and influence far more than facts ever will. You could say all the right things, but if your tone lacks warmth, congruence, or confidence, your message won't land. Section 2. Emotional intelligence in communication. Emotional intelligence in speaking means tuning into three things: how you feel as you speak, how your listener feels as they hear you, and how your voice bridges the two. When you're emotionally intelligent, you know when to be soft, when to be bold, when to pause, when to lean in. You speak with awareness, not just intention. Section 3. Authenticity versus oversharing. Authenticity is magnetic. Oversharing is uncomfortable. Many people confuse the two. To be authentic is to be real, to let your tone reflect your truth. But that doesn't mean revealing everything. You don't have to bleed to be believed. The key is emotional alignment, letting your voice reflect your values while still honoring your boundaries. Your vulnerability becomes powerful when it's shared with intention, not impulse. Section 4. Emotional layering through voice. Here's where things get practical. Emotional layering means using vocal tools, tone, pacing, pitch, and volume to add feeling to your message. Let's break it down. To express empathy, soften your tone, slow down, leave space. To express confidence, speak from your core. Lower your pitch slightly, pause with presence. To express passion, let your energy rise naturally. Vary your pitch, let your voice move with your message. The goal isn't to perform, it's to align. Let the emotion match the message. Section 5. Reflective practice. What's under your words? Let's pause and reflect. Think back to a recent conversation where you didn't feel heard. Now ask yourself, was I speaking from tension, from frustration, from doubt? What was I feeling, and how might that have shaped my tone? Now think of a time where your words truly landed. Someone listened. They felt you. What was different about your tone, your energy? This awareness is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. Section 6. Tonal awareness practice. Start recording short voice notes each day, even 30 seconds long. Talk about something you care about. Then play it back. Notice your pacing, your tone, your pauses. Ask yourself, does this sound like me? Like who I want to be? Where am I holding back? Where am I overcompensating? What feeling does my voice actually carry? Over time, you'll begin to refine and align, not by changing your voice, but by reclaiming it. Section 7. The trust factor. We trust people who sound congruent, when their words match their tone, when their energy matches their message. We don't trust people who sound disconnected, robotic, or overly rehearsed, even if their words are perfect. Your voice doesn't have to be polished, but it has to be real. That's emotional resonance. Final thoughts. Leadership isn't just what you say, it's what people feel in your presence. And your voice is the fastest way to shape that feeling. Speak from the truth. Align your tone with your intent, and let every word you say feel as true as it sounds. Download the Chapter 7 companion workbook and complete the tone awareness map to deepen your emotional intelligence through voice. Because people may forget your words, but they'll never forget how your voice made them feel. Chapter 8. Listening as leadership. What if your greatest power as a communicator wasn't in how you speak, but in how you listen? In this chapter, we explore the art of deep listening, not as a passive act, but as an active leadership tool. You'll learn how to hold space with presence, respond with empathy, and open dialogue that builds trust and transformation. Because real leadership doesn't start with speaking, it starts with listening. Section 1. Why listening is a leadership skill. We often think leadership is about direction, guiding others with clarity and confidence, but true leadership starts with connection, and connection begins with listening. When people feel heard, they feel seen, and when they feel seen, they're more open to trust, collaboration, and growth. Leaders who listen don't just solve problems, they unlock potential. Section 2. The difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is automatic. Listening is intentional. Hearing means you caught the words. Listening means you understood the meaning beneath them. It means you were fully present. You didn't rehearse your reply. You didn't interrupt. You didn't assume. You created space for someone else to be real and for yourself to receive. That's where transformation happens. Section 3. Deep Listening Framework. Here's a simple 3-step framework to practice deep listening in any conversation. Step 1. Pause. Before you respond, pause. Let their words breathe. Let them finish fully. The pause creates safety. Step 2. Reflect. Reflect what you heard, either silently or aloud. What was the essence of what they shared? What emotion was underneath it? Step 3. Respond. Respond with clarity, presence, and care. Not to fix, not to redirect, but to connect. Pause, reflect, respond. Use this framework in personal conversations, team meetings, even difficult dialogues. You'll be amazed at how quickly it builds trust. Section 4. Responding with empathy and presence. Empathy is not about agreeing. It's about understanding. You don't have to fix someone's feelings to validate their experience. You simply need to show that you heard them, clearly, fully, and without judgment. Here are some powerful empathetic responses. That makes sense. I can see how that would feel heavy. Thanks for sharing that with me. Empathy is often quiet. It doesn't rush. It doesn't redirect. It sits with, and that presence is often more healing than any solution you could offer. Section 5. Practice. Pause. Reflect. Respond. Let's walk through a scenario. Imagine someone says, "I'm just overwhelmed. No matter how hard I work, it never feels like enough." Option 1. You jump in with solutions. Have you tried time blocking or making a list? Option 2. You practice presence. Pause. Reflect. Respond. Try this. Sounds like you've been giving a lot and not feeling supported. That moment of reflection invites trust. It says, "I see you." Now they're far more open, not just to advice, but to connection. Section 6. The listening traps to avoid. Even well-meaning communicators fall into common traps. Watch out for these. Trap 1. Rehearsing. You're so busy planning your reply that you miss the heart of their message. Trap 2. Hijacking. You shift the focus to your own story. That happened to me too. Trap 3. Fixing. You rush to solve instead of simply listening. Leadership listening is about staying with the speaker, holding space without rushing the outcome. Section 7. Your presence is the message. You don't need the perfect words to be a great communicator. Sometimes the most powerful message you can give is your full attention. No phone, no interruptions, no rush. Just eye contact, stillness, and presence. When you give someone the gift of your full listening, you remind them of their worth. That's the quiet power of leadership. Final thoughts. People won't always remember what you said, but they will always remember how they felt in your presence. And if they felt heard, really heard, they'll follow you, not because they have to, but because they trust you. Download the Chapter 8 companion workbook and use the active listening blueprint to strengthen your presence and deepen your leadership through listening. Because to lead well, you must first listen well. Chapter 9. Speak to inspire, not just inform. The world is full of information. What it's starving for is inspiration. In this chapter, we explore how to move from being an information deliverer to becoming a voice that activates people, a communicator who leaves a lasting emotional and energetic imprint. Because when you speak with vision, people don't just listen, they change. Section 1. The difference between informing and inspiring. Informing is about passing along knowledge. Inspiring is about awakening something in others. When you inform, you fill minds. When you inspire, you open hearts. Information is necessary, but on its own, it doesn't create movement, it doesn't generate momentum, and it doesn't shift behavior in a lasting way. Inspiration does. It speaks not just to what people know, but to who they want to become. Section 2. The dangers of manipulation versus motivation. Let's get honest. There's a fine line between inspiring and manipulating. Manipulation uses emotion to control. It's rooted in fear, pressure, or ego. It seeks to push people into action for the speaker's benefit. Motivation, real motivation, calls people forward with respect and care. It holds space for choice. It empowers. Before you speak, ask, am I trying to push someone or lift them? Am I speaking to serve or to impress? True inspiration has no agenda other than transformation. Section 3. The leader as mirror, amplifier, and guide. Great communicators don't make the moment about themselves. They mirror what others need to see more clearly. They amplify what already lives within their audience. Wisdom, courage, potential. And they guide without controlling, pointing the way forward without walking it for others. Your voice is a vehicle, not just for your message, but for their elevation. Section 4. Practice. Speaking from purpose. The next time you share an idea, a story, or a message, ask yourself, why am I saying this? What am I hoping to shift or spark? What part of the listener am I trying to reach? Their head, their heart, or their hands? The more aligned you are with your why, the more your words will carry weight. People don't just hear what you say, they feel why you say it. Section 5. Reflective exercise. Your message. Legacy. Let's take this deeper. Imagine someone reflecting on you 5 years from now. They're remembering something you said, not because it was clever, but because it changed how they saw themselves. What do you want that memory to be? What message do you want to leave behind? What do you want people to feel after hearing you speak? Write it down, speak it out loud, own the legacy your voice is creating. Section 6. Speaking with vision. Inspiration without direction is just noise. This is where vision comes in. To speak with vision means painting a picture of what's possible. For a person, a team, a community, it means connecting their current struggle to a greater purpose. It means helping people see not just what is, but what could be, and then speaking that possibility with passion, clarity, and conviction. Section 7. Aligning your message with their moment. Here's a powerful shift. It's not about having the best message, it's about offering the right message. For the moment the listener is in, this requires listening, presence, awareness. It requires reading the room, not just reciting your notes. When you speak into someone's season, not just their situation, you become unforgettable. Section 8. The heartbeat of inspiration. At the center of every inspiring voice is one truth. You're not here to impress. You're here to ignite, to wake people up, to remind them of who they are, what matters, and what they're capable of. And to do that, you don't need perfect words. You need a clear heart, a grounded message, and the courage to say it like it matters. Final thoughts. Speak to inform the mind, but inspire the soul. Lead not just with facts, but with feeling. Download the Chapter 9 companion workbook and complete your vision message mapping to turn your insights into inspiration. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs your voice, spoken from truth and aimed at transformation. Chapter 10. The courage to speak up. There is a moment, and one we all face, where your heart knows what it wants to say, but your voice doesn't follow. Maybe it's a boardroom, a conversation with someone you admire, a confrontation you've been avoiding, or a moment where you're asked to lead, and instead of stepping forward, you hesitate. In this chapter, we're talking about that moment. You'll learn how to move through the fear of judgment, rejection, or getting it wrong, and find the grounded courage to speak up when it matters most. Section 1. Why speaking up feels hard. Let's start with truth. You're not alone. Nearly everyone has felt the inner tremble of wanting to speak, but staying silent instead. Why? Because our brains are wired for survival, and for many of us, visibility feels dangerous. We fear being wrong, being misunderstood, being too much or not enough, so we play it safe. We stay quiet. But here's the cost. When you don't speak, you don't lead. You don't connect, you don't grow. The voice you silence becomes the confidence you lose. Section 2. What's really at stake? Think about it. What's the worst-case scenario if you speak up? Someone disagrees, you get corrected, you fumble your words. Now consider the deeper cost of not speaking. You miss the opportunity to lead. You teach your nervous system that your voice is unsafe. And most of all, you abandon your own truth. Every time you stay silent to protect yourself, you reinforce the belief that your voice doesn't belong. Let's change that. Section 3. The root of your fear. Your fear isn't irrational, it's learned. At some point, your voice was met with rejection, ridicule, or dismissal. Maybe it was a classroom, a relationship, a work culture. And in that moment, your nervous system adapted. But here's what you must know. You are no longer in that moment. You are not the same person. You now have tools, insight, intention, and you get to rewire your response, not by waiting for fear to disappear, but by choosing courage with the fear. Section 4. Grounding Techniques for High-Stakes Speaking. Let's get practical. Here are a few grounding tools you can use before speaking in high-pressure situations. 1. Anchor your body. Plant both feet on the floor. Feel your weight supported. This signals safety to your nervous system. 2. Breathe low and slow. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Exhale for 6. Repeat 3 times. 3. Speak your intention internally. Say to yourself, I'm here to connect, not to perform, or my voice is enough. 4. Focus on service. Shift attention off yourself. Ask, who am I here to serve with this message? These rituals train your body to associate speaking with safety, not danger. Section 5. Reflective Prompt. When you held back. Take a moment and think back. When was a time you held back your voice? Where were you? What did you want to say? And what story did your mind tell you about why you shouldn't? Was it, they'll think I'm wrong? I'll sound unprepared. It's not worth the risk. Now ask yourself, and was that story true? What might have shifted if you had spoken? Reflect. Write it down. Reclaim the moment. Section 6. Redefining courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to move through it, voice shaking and all. Courage is raising your hand even when your heart pounds. It's choosing presence over perfection. It's knowing you might mess up and speaking anyway. And every time you do, you send a signal to yourself. I can trust my voice. Section 7. The small steps that shift everything. You don't need a stage to be brave. Courage lives in the small moments, asking the unasked question, sharing your honest opinion, saying no when you've always said yes. Each time you speak from your truth, no matter how quietly, your confidence compounds, your voice strengthens, your identity shifts, your presence expands. Section 8. Speaking to empower others. When you speak up, you don't just free yourself, you free others too. You become the example someone else needed. You show what it looks like to take up space. You model that imperfection is allowed, that truth is enough, and in doing so, you give permission for other voices to rise. Final thoughts. You don't need to be fearless to speak up. You just need to choose your truth over your comfort. You just need to remember that your voice is not a performance. It's a presence, and every time you use it, you get stronger. Download the Chapter 10 companion workbook and use the Speak Up strategy plan to build your ritual for brave, grounded communication. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present and willing to speak, because your voice is leadership. Chapter 11. Leading through conflict and difficult conversations. If leadership is a fire, conflict is the forge. It's not whether conflict happens, it's how you handle it. In this chapter, we'll explore how to lead, not just survive, when conversations get hard. You'll gain tools to diffuse tension, speak with clarity and compassion, and turn resistance into relationship. Because difficult conversations are where real leadership is tested and real growth is earned. Section 1. The truth about conflict. Let's be clear. Conflict is not the enemy. Avoiding it doesn't make you kind. It makes you unclear. Conflict isn't about combat. It's about contrast. Two truths, two needs, two stories meeting in the same space. When handled well, conflict becomes a doorway, a portal to deeper understanding, alignment, and connection. But when mishandled or avoided, it becomes a wall. Section 2. Why most people avoid difficult conversations. People don't avoid hard talks because they're weak. They avoid them because they fear what might follow: rejection, explosion, misunderstanding, loss. So they tiptoe, sugarcoat, or go silent. But silence doesn't keep the peace. It just delays the pain. Leadership means moving toward discomfort, not away from it. Section 3. The de-escalation framework. Here's a powerful structure to help you lead through tension with calm and clarity. Step 1. Regulate yourself first. You can't calm a storm while being one. Breathe, center, choose your intention. Step 2. Acknowledge, don't attack. Say, I can see this feels important to you, or this sounds tough, let's talk it through. Step 3. Frame the goal. Remind both of you why this conversation matters. Say, I want us to be aligned, or let's figure this out together. Step 4. Respond, don't react. Use clear, direct language. Stay on topic. Don't bring up past wounds to win the present moment. Step 5. Invite repair. If things go off track, say, let's pause and come back with clearer energy. Leadership is in the return. Section 4. How your tone and pace affect outcomes. In tough conversations, how you say it often matters more than what you say. A raised voice can turn truth into a threat. A rushed sentence can signal panic instead of presence. So slow your pace, lower your tone, soften your volume. Speak like someone who trusts themselves and is safe to be heard. Calm is contagious. Use your voice to lead with it. Section 5. Conflict to connection. Phrases. Let's swap some common tension-making phrases for connection-building ones. Instead of, you always, say, I've noticed a pattern, and I want to understand it better. Instead of, you're wrong, say, here's how I see it, or can I share my perspective? Instead of, calm down, say, I want to understand what's feeling most intense right now. Instead of, this isn't a big deal, say, it seems like this really matters to you. These are small shifts, but they open space, and that's what conflict needs. Section 6. Preparing for a difficult conversation. Before your next tough conversation, ask yourself, what is my intention? To punish or to understand? What outcome would feel like progress? What tone and energy do I want to bring into the room? What emotional triggers might show up? And how will I ground myself? Leadership is preparation. The more you center yourself before the talk, the more likely you are to lead it with grace. Section 7. After the conversation, once it's done, reflect. What went well? What could I have said with more clarity or care? Did I stay true to my values? Did we move toward resolution or just away from conflict? Use every hard conversation as a mirror, not for blame, but for learning. Final thoughts. Difficult conversations are where leadership lives. They're where courage meets clarity, where tension becomes truth. Download your Chapter 11 companion workbook and use the Difficult Conversation Planner to prepare for and lead your next high-stakes talk with confidence and calm. Because when you master the hard moments, you become the kind of leader people trust, not just in ease but in challenge. Chapter 12. Authentic Leadership Communication Styles. There's no one right way to speak like a leader. In fact, one of the greatest lies in leadership communication is that you have to look or sound a certain way to have impact. In this chapter, we dismantle that myth and uncover your unique leadership voice, whether you're quiet or commanding, empathetic or strategic. Because real leadership doesn't start with mimicry, it starts with alignment. Section 1. The dangers of imitation. Most of us, at some point, have tried to sound like someone else. Maybe it was the loudest voice in the room, or the most charismatic speaker on stage. But the more we mimic, the more we disconnect. Why? Because when your style isn't your own, your energy gets misaligned. Your message might still be heard, but it won't be felt. Authenticity is the amplifier. Your voice, spoken with truth, will always resonate louder than a borrowed one. Section 2. Identifying your leadership communication style. There are many ways to lead with your voice. Let's explore a few. The strategist. Clear, logical, and measured. You speak in frameworks and deliver clarity through structure. The empath. Warm, intuitive, and connective. You lead with emotional resonance and deep listening. The catalyst. Bold, energizing, and expressive. You ignite action with your presence and enthusiasm. The anchor. Grounded, calm, and firm. You bring stability and focus through tone and pacing. The visionary. Expansive, inspiring, and future-focused. You paint possibility through storytelling and conviction. You may find yourself in more than one of these, and that's good. Your leadership style is a spectrum, not a box. Section 3. Introverts, extroverts, and everything in between. Let's be clear, charisma is not volume. You don't need to be loud to be compelling. You don't need to dominate the room to command respect. Introverts bring deep thoughtfulness and calm authority. Extroverts offer energy and connection. Ambiverts adapt and mirror what's needed. There's no single blueprint. The only requirement is presence, being fully you, wherever you are. Section 4. The myth of charisma. Charisma has been misunderstood. It's not about charm, perfection, or performance. True charisma comes from congruence, when your words, tone, energy, and message all match. When who you are aligns with how you speak, people listen. Not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Charisma, then, is a byproduct of truth. And that truth starts with knowing your strengths. Section 5. Reflective activity. Your voice strengths profile. Take a moment to reflect on these questions. When do you feel most natural and powerful while speaking? What feedback have you received about your presence or communication? Do people say you're calming, clear, passionate, inspiring? What types of environments bring out your best voice? What words do you want others to use when they describe your communication? Write these down. This is your voice strengths profile, a mirror for your authenticity. Section 6. Leadership style, not equal to performance style. You might admire someone else's style, but admiration is not a call to imitation. Leadership is not a stage. It's not about sounding like a leader. It's about sounding like you, when you're most grounded, most honest, and most connected to your message. You can lead with softness. You can lead with silence. You can lead with structure or story or soul. But you must lead as yourself. Section 7. Using your style with intention. Now that you've explored your authentic voice, the next step is using it intentionally. Ask yourself, what does this moment call for? Does it need clarity or empathy, energy or steadiness, vision or grounding? Draw on the style that fits the need, but always from a place of alignment. You're not switching masks. You're accessing tools. That's the difference between performing and leading. Final thoughts. You don't need to be more like them. You just need to be more like you, fully, audibly, and unapologetically. Download the Chapter 12 companion workbook and use the Style and Strength Calibration Map to uncover, embrace, and amplify your voice as a leader, because the most magnetic voice is the one that doesn't try to be anything else. Chapter 13. Speak to influence any room. If you want to lead with your voice, it's not enough to be clear. You also have to be adaptable. In this chapter, we explore how to tailor your message, energy, and presence for different audiences and environments without losing your authenticity, because real influence isn't about sounding the same everywhere. It's about sounding like you in a way that lands wherever you are. Section 1. The dynamics of different rooms. A boardroom expects precision. A podcast welcomes story. A one-on-one has conversation needs presence. A keynote demands energy. Each room holds a different rhythm and a different expectation. To lead effectively, your voice must learn to dance with the room, not overpower it. Influence isn't about volume, it's about alignment. Section 2. Why adaptability isn't inauthentic. Some people resist changing their tone or style. They worry it's fake or performative. But adaptability isn't manipulation, it's awareness. Think of it like music. A great musician doesn't play the same tune at every venue. They adjust for the mood, the moment, and the audience. The core of who you are stays the same, but your delivery evolves. Section 3. The 4 influence archetypes. Let's explore 4 influence styles that can help you meet the moment with precision. 1. The mentor. Calm, wise, reassuring. Ideal for one-on-one or coaching environments. 2. The motivator. Energetic, inspiring, high impact. Great for keynotes or team huddles. 3. The strategist. Clear, logical, focused, perfect for presentations and boardrooms. 4. The storyteller. Relatable, emotional, engaging. A strong choice for podcasts or social platforms. You can move between these styles or blend them, depending on the audience and outcome. Section 4. Knowing your audience. Before speaking, ask, who am I talking to? What do they care about? What energy are they bringing into the room? What transformation are they hoping for? When you meet people where they are, they're more likely to follow you to where you're going. Section 5. Scenario practice. Reshaping your message. Let's say your core message is, confidence grows from consistent action. How do you reshape that message for different settings? Boardroom. Our confidence as a team will rise as we execute repeatedly and reliably. Podcast. Confidence isn't a gift. It's the result of showing up again and again. Presentation. Every action we take is a vote for our capability. Confidence is built one step at a time. We're to one-one coaching. Let's build your confidence by identifying small, consistent actions you can take this week. Same core idea, 4 different frames, all intentional. Section 6. Finding your flexible edge. Your edge as a speaker comes not from rigidity, but range. When you can flex your voice without losing your values, you expand your reach. It's not about impressing the room, it's about aligning with the room, while still expressing your truth. Section 7. When to shift and when to stay grounded. Adapting is powerful, but don't lose yourself in the process. Know your non-negotiables. What parts of your voice are essential? What words, phrases, or messages feel like home? What values do you always want to carry, no matter the room? When you root in these, you can stretch without snapping. Final thoughts. To influence any room, you don't need to shapeshift. You just need to shape your message to meet the moment. Download the Chapter 13 companion workbook and use the Audience Alignment Checklist to prepare for your next high-stakes conversation, presentation, or platform. The goal isn't to perform. The goal is to connect clearly, consciously, and powerfully, because your voice, spoken with intention, can move any room. Chapter 14. Consistency builds trust. Trust isn't built in the big moments, it's built in the small ones, consistently. In this chapter, we explore how your voice becomes trustworthy, not by being perfect, but by being aligned. When your words match your actions, your presence becomes powerful, because people know what to expect from you. That's the essence of credibility, and credibility is leadership. Section 1. Trust isn't declared, it's demonstrated. You can't ask people to trust you. You show them why they should. You show them by being consistent, by saying what you mean, and meaning what you say. By following through. You don't need a title or spotlight, you just need congruence. When your message matches your movement, people feel safe following your lead. Section 2. The silent power of integrity. Integrity isn't loud, it doesn't announce itself, but it's felt. It shows up in how you speak about others when they're not around. It shows up in the tone you choose when no one is correcting you. It shows up in how you listen, not just how you speak. People don't just listen to your words. They listen through them, scanning for alignment. Section 3. Your reputation is built one conversation at a time. We tend to think reputation is something crafted, but it's actually something collected by others. Every conversation is a vote for whether your presence adds value, a vote for whether your voice carries weight, a vote for whether what you say and what you do align. And over time, that collection of conversations forms your reputation, not as a speaker, but as a leader. Section 4. The cost of misalignment. We've all seen it. Someone who says the right things in public but doesn't live them privately. The result, mistrust, distance, disconnection. People stop listening, not because the words were wrong, but because they weren't true. Misalignment doesn't just break credibility, it fractures connection. Section 5. Reflective prompt. Do your words match your walk? Take a moment to reflect. What values do you speak about most, and where are you not fully living them? Where does your tone betray your intention? Where might you be over-promising or under-following through? This is not about shame. It's about alignment, because when your words match your walk, your leadership becomes magnetic. Section 6. Building a trustworthy voice daily. You don't need to overhaul your personality to be trusted. You just need to practice consistency in small, everyday moments. Be honest, even when it's uncomfortable. Speak clearly, even when it's complex. Follow up, even when it's inconvenient. Own mistakes, especially when it's hard. These choices, repeated, become your voice print. They're how people know they can rely on you. Section 7. The gift of reliability. When people know what to expect from you, they relax around you. That's what reliable leadership does. It removes emotional guesswork. It creates psychological safety, and it makes your voice not just heard, but trusted. Final thoughts. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it's powerful. The most trusted voices in the world aren't always the loudest. They're the ones whose words match their walk. Download the Chapter 14 companion workbook and use the Voice Alignment Tracker to reflect on how you're showing up daily in speech and presence. Because the way you speak today shapes the kind of leader you're becoming tomorrow. Chapter 15. The 30-Day Silent Power Practice. Transformation isn't about what you know. It's about what you do with what you know. This final chapter is your invitation to take everything you've learned and bring it into your daily life, one intentional moment at a time. Over the next 30 days, you'll practice showing up with more presence, more clarity, and more power, not by adding pressure, but by anchoring consistency. Because confidence isn't built in leaps, it's built in layers. Section 1. Why daily practice matters. Big change doesn't come from big speeches. It comes from small, repeated shifts in how you speak, how you listen, and how you show up. Your voice becomes trustworthy when your words become intentional. That's what this chapter is about, embedding your growth so deeply that it becomes second nature. Section 2. The power of ritual. Ritual doesn't have to mean candles and silence. It can be as simple as 5 minutes of focused practice every day, and when repeated over time, that simple act rewires your neural pathways. It rewires your leadership presence, because what you repeat, you reinforce. Section 3. The 3 daily practice pillars. Each day, for 30 days, you'll return to these 3 practices. 1. Presence. A grounding breath, a quiet pause, or a moment of stillness before you speak. 2. Clarity. Reviewing or rewriting one phrase or thought to make it more aligned with your true voice. 3. Confidence. Speaking out loud, even to yourself with authority and warmth, just 1 minute a day. These are micro habits with macro impact. Section 4. Example. Daily ritual. Here's a simple 5-minute example to begin your practice. Minute 1. Breathe. Sit quietly, put one hand on your chest and feel the breath come and go. Minute 2. Ask yourself, what does my voice need today? Listen without judging. Minute 3. Say one truth out loud. It can be simple. I am becoming a more grounded communicator. Minute 4. Review a recent message, email, or conversation. Would you say it the same way again? Minute 5. Speak your intention for the day. Today, I lead with calm and clarity. Consistency is the only requirement. Perfection is not. Section 5. Tracking your growth. Growth often feels invisible until you pause and reflect. So once a week, ask yourself, what's changed in how I speak? Where did I feel most grounded or off-center? What feedback have I received, verbal or nonverbal? What does the next level of my voice look and feel like? Write it down. Reflection brings integration. Section 6. Guided reflection. The voice you're becoming. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a deep breath. Imagine it's 30 days from now. You've shown up every day, just 5 minutes, with presence, with care, with intentionality. How do you speak now? How do others respond to you? How does your voice feel when it rises from a place of truth, not fear? What do you no longer tolerate in your communication? And what new power have you claimed? Breathe that version of you in, because they're already here. You're just remembering. Final thoughts. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of your integration. The 30-day silent power practice is your space to embody everything you've learned, gently, powerfully, and consistently. Download your Chapter 15 companion workbook and use the 30 Days to Unshakable Communication Plan to guide your daily rituals. Because when your presence is practiced, when your words are aligned, and when your voice is rooted in truth, you don't just sound like a leader, you are one. Conclusion. You've done something powerful. You didn't just listen to an audiobook. You walked through a transformation. You chose to meet your voice with curiosity, with courage, and with deep intention. And that choice to show up fully changes everything. Throughout this journey, you've discovered how to lead without shouting, how to connect without pretending, how to speak in a way that's not just heard, but felt. You've practiced presence. You've tuned into clarity. You've reclaimed confidence. And above all, you've remembered that your voice is not an accident. It is a tool, a gift, a force for impact. Let that truth live in you now. The way you pause before you speak, the way you choose a word that carries weight instead of noise, the way your tone mirrors your values, not your fears. This is who you are becoming. And this is the kind of leader the world is waiting for. But don't stop here. Let your next conversation reflect this work. Let your presence in the next room be evidence of what you've built. Let your voice, even in silence, continue to lead. And remember, you are not walking alone. There is a community rising, people like you, practicing truth, embodying presence, and using their voices to shape something better. We'd love for you to be part of it. Join the conversation. Share your insights. Post what moved you. Tag this audiobook. Comment, connect, reach out. Because when one person grows, we all rise. You'll also find a companion workbook for every chapter, completely free. It's your space for reflection, action, and deep integration. If this experience has added value to your journey, feel free to make a contribution. Your support helps us continue creating empowering, high-quality content for listeners everywhere. Now take this message and let it ripple. If this audiobook lit something inside you, share it. Let someone else feel seen, empowered, and heard. Because when we speak from truth, we create change. Thank you for letting this be part of your journey. Your voice matters, and the world needs it now more than ever.